Again, thank you for joining. It's great to be here with all of you. Thanks to CGT for bringing us together. In the next 15 minutes, Harvey and I plan to discuss the digital transformation trends in the CPG industry. Harvey is going to bring his unique industry perspective, and I'm going to bring in some learnings that we had from one of the large, complex S4 transformation that we have done for one of the CPG companies recently. Harvey, thank you for taking time for this dialogue. Maybe I can go with the first question. You are in the retail CPG industry for more than maybe 30 plus years now, and you have seen the technology transformation waves over the decades with advisory and provider lens. Given your unique vantage point, I just want to understand what are the broad trends that you are seeing in the CPG industry today, and the goals that the companies have for digital transformation initiatives.
Yeah, no, thanks, Sampath. I'm glad to be here this morning. And, let me kind of begin with some broad consumer trends that I've seen impact a lot of CPG companies in terms of strengthening the brand loyalty and improving business operations. And I'll just focus on the top three because it kind of dovetails into some of the operational strategies that these companies are driving towards. The first one is really kind of demonstrating some of the sustainability initiatives, as well as transparency of product or service and the traceability, and then the commitment around social responsibility. And then lastly is really around healthy products where the consumers are increasingly aware of the link between diet and health, and there's been a material shift of not having additives in many of the food or even the manufacturing of products around that. But as a consequence of that, one of the biggest challenges for CPG companies is how to achieve those expectations within all the generational segmentations and segments in a profitable revenue stream. So, each of those segments have very diverse values, preferences, and a very strong level of digital savviness. So the downstream impact that we're seeing is it's actually have led to higher marketing, packaging, and inventory costs across the value chain. So in order for CPG companies to free up capital and excess cash and improvement of operations to drive those initiatives, what we've seen is many CPG companies are redefining their digital core within their global capability centers, or as many that are on the call, what was termed maybe global business services or shared service organizations, through many tech-enabled strategies. Let me kind of cover the top three. Automation and AI. It's really kind of streamlining the operations, converting analog workforce to an augmented digital workforce, reducing costs in the corporate support functions, the supply chain, and the procurement area. But some of the other operational solutions we've also seen is leveraging demand forecasting, inventory management, and personalized marketing of where we have seen where automation and AI have been playing. But I would say collar and cuffed with proper cybersecurity solutions and a very strong AI governance framework in order for those to be enabled. The second one is around data-driven insights and trying to grab together the structured and unstructured data into actionable insights. And then lastly is around cloud-based solutions, where we've seen many companies are migrating to these cloud-based platforms, enhancing efficiency, providing scalability, the enabling to be able to reduce tech debt, and really improving the regional collaboration across the firm. Some of the areas that we're seeing is around SAP S4HANA, Salesforce, and Oracle SCM as examples. But let me kind of pivot on that last point, and let me kind of ask you, Sampath, as to how you're seeing Tech Mahindra in collaborating with your CPG clients across digital transformation initiatives.
Yeah, thanks, Harvey. I see a clear alignment between the broad trends that you have outlined and what we are seeing in the market with some of our CPG companies. For example, we are working with one of the large Fortune 5 CPG companies in the household product sector with multiple billion-dollar brands. This customer has embarked on an ambitious, journey to modernize their 20-year-old, SAP core running on ECC 6.0 instance on-prem with cloud-first strategy to move it to Microsoft Azure with S/4HANA as a new digital core. Just to give you the complexity of the program that we are dealing with here, this is 12 billion plus business runs through this particular instance in the North America. There are about 14,000 users, 500 different business processes. We're talking about 12 terabyte data and 19,000 custom objects built over last 2 decades, and about 1,100 interfaces, with 300 plus legacy applications, that form an ecosystem to run the business operations. By any standard, this is one of the complex business, transformation programs. And the way we have, if I look at the broad goals that they had for this particular program, there are 3 broad goals that the customer had. One is, simplifying and standardizing the business processes across the North American operations with, industry best practices, so that the, system is agile enough to meet the evolving business demands and changes. And of course, improve the operational efficiency and profitability. Second most important on the technology side was modernizing the core, replacing the 2-decade ECC with lighter S4 running on Azure cloud. Essentially, they want to improve the user experience and also enable the platform to support the growth plans that they have, and of course reduce the TCO. Finally, lay the digital foundation to support their innovation agenda with real-time analytics and cloud integrations and AI-led initiatives that they want to leverage for reimagining the business. So that's kind of what we're seeing. I think this is a 14-month program. We have done fantastic job collectively along with SAP Consulting. We have done this in 14 months with no P1, P2 tickets following 3 months after they go live.
Oh, great. But, considering the scale of the program, how did you approach this on such a complex transformation?
Yeah, that's a good question. In my mind, we have approached this program in 4 parts. First is extensive, assessment. We have actually leveraged Tech Mahindra's proprietary diagnostic tool. We call it Epsilon, along with SAP Readiness tool, to evaluate the existing ECC landscape, to identify dependencies, redundancies, and ensure the functional compatibility with S4 before we embarked on the journey. Just to give an example, out of 19,000 custom objects that we had, 60% of them were not used. So we were able to bring that up and ensure not to put efforts on those unused objects early enough in the process. That way, our teams were focused on what really mattered for the program. And in the second phase, what we have done is, if you were to imagine there is a core, legacy core, SAP S4, SAP ECC instance, and then you have about 300 plus legacy applications. So the approach that we've taken is to go and replace the core with S4 without touching the business functionality within the 300 plus apps that are out there. We didn't want to, take big bang approach. So it meant, only remediating the apps for integrations and making sure the applications are able to talk to the new core after the upgrade. That is the second thing that we have done. And then in the phase 3, we actually moved on to leveraging some of the newer functionalities that we have in the S4, what I call as expanding the core, to sort of retire some of the legacy apps in the 300 plus. Wherever we can retire, and wherever we are not able to retire, if there is a newer technology available, we are trying to upgrade those into newer technologies. So basically replace the core as is, and then next is expand the core to take advantage of the newer S4 and then drive the ROI for the customers. And finally, in the final phase, we are looking at bringing in some of the Fiori features, BTP, and elevate the user experience, and of course, take this template global eventually.
Okay. Now, Sampath, I know we're short on time, but I think one of the key things would be for this team to hear is really what are some of the learnings or best practices that if you can just kind of parse that fairly quickly as to some takeaways around moving to considerations around moving to SAP, S/4HANA.
Yeah, I think after the launch party, I actually happened to be there along with the customer team and the business team. When I asked them, hey, what really drove this success, collective success, I think 3-4 things came out of the discussion, Harvey. One is, the extensive planning that we have done upfront, the extensive analysis that we have done upfront to identify the scope and plan every step of the process. Second is the extreme collaboration, across the teams. There were multiple firms involved in the process. We operated as one team. Third is, the test suite. We actually created a test suite with about 11,000 test cases. We have leveraged automation wherever possible to ensure, there is enough coverage, both for the business critical processes and also for the integration that are out there. And, finally, we have leveraged automation extensively wherever it is possible to remediate, to test, or whatever is possible, even if it is at the cost of our service dollars, right? We went with automation first approach. We relied on some industry best tools out there in the market to automate versus, putting manual efforts into migrating or remediating the technical code. And finally, I would say, change management was very important. We have actually set up the change management office early in the process. They were involved right from the initial analysis phase and stayed through to keep all the stakeholders informed and also, help us with that, simplification exercise. Out of 500 processes, we only picked up 100 business critical processes in the phase 1 to simplify, and then the remaining, we pushed down to the other phases that we are going to work on.
All right. Well, if you could do anything differently the next time, I'm only going to be able to allow you to talk about one. What would that be as a takeaway?
Yeah. So I think if you take the provider lens, maybe a couple that come to my mind. One is while we have done extensive coverage around the testing, I don't think we have extensively used the automation to the level that we wanted to use. Going forward, if we were to do this again, maybe we will be a little more ambitious in terms of the testing coverage, automated testing coverage. And then second is, we have overestimated the capability of some of these automation tools for auto remediate the custom objects. Some of the custom objects are very complex. So it was sort of, more than the effort was more than what was originally planned. The third I would say is that we were a little more risk averse, but if we were to do it again, maybe we would probably brought in some of the transformational initiatives that we have planned for phase 3 into the current phase that we are in.
Thanks, Sampath. I'm going to turn this over to Lisa. We're not going to have time for questions today, but should anyone have additional questions for Sampath and myself, please feel free to reach out to either one of us directly.